The ultimate all-in-one electric homebrewing system is here. The new Grainfather G40 can produce up to 11 gallons of beer and features all the latest advancements in homebrewing technology, including wireless control so you can monitor your brew day from the Grainfather app. With an innovative new grain basket design that improves workflow, reaching mash efficiencies of 75% or more is easy. The 3300-watt heating element brings your wort to a boil quickly without any scorching, and the large hot plate filter guarantees that no unwanted grain matter or hop trub reaches your fermenter. Every G40 comes standard with a high-powered built-in pump that can handle temperatures over 200 degrees Fahrenheit and a full 3-year warranty that guarantees you'll be able to keep on brewing no matter what. The Grainfather G40 is available now at your favorite homebrew retailer or online at grainfather.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Leaving sanitizer in your beer lines, kegging for beginners, resolving stuck disconnects, and a question about using and reusing hotbeds. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 272. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. I'm joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com down there, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing?
Good.
I'm sorry, I forget. I'm not supposed to ask you how you're doing. That was stupid.
I've been sick, actually.
You have it.
I haven't felt really great for a while, and I've got some other issues we could go over.
Yeah, I mean, let's do that. Let's call this Todd on the couch, and we will. I
suspect you don't really want to know how I'm doing.
Yeah, well, I am glad that you're feeling better. You did.
Thank you.
To assure everyone, it wasn't. You got COVID tested. It wasn't COVID. So I forget sometimes that people get sick from other things.
So it was this thing. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called the common cold.
No, that's a distant memory for me of what the common cold. And you were telling me too. Here's how stupid I am. I was like, well, why don't you go to the doctor? Because he was sick. I think you started being symptomatic on Thursday night, and then Friday you were just dying. And so like over the weekend, I was like, well, Monday, why don't you go to the doctor? And you were like, for what? There's no cure for the common cold. Dude, there's a saying that there is no cure for the common cold. And I was like, oh yeah. What do you do? You already ruled out it was COVID, so what do you do? And
well, if you get a sinus infection, then it makes sense. But yeah, if you're really confident it's a cold, there's not much they can do.
Right. Go home.
Plus, the other thing is sometimes they pump you full of antibiotics, and I'm like, I don't really want them to pump me full of antibiotics if I don't need the antibiotics,
Yeah, you told me, they're going to tell me just to rest and drink plenty of fluids. But I made sure you knew to clarify fluids in doctor speak is water. That's what fluids means when a doctor tells.
It's not beer.
It's not.
Well, what I had plenty of fluids, and they were like more than 95% water.
Yeah. Okay. James, do you remember when he had his neck fusion and the doctor gave him these meds? And I think it goes without saying, or if you read the label, do not take with alcohol. And Todd's like, made some work better as he swigs.
That's what I think.
An 8-ounce pour of some 9% beer that he brewed, and then 2 painkillers. Said, that's just a liability form. That's not, that doesn't, I'm not going to hurt, but it obviously, isn't affecting you because
disinformation.
I had a doctor years ago when I lived in San Marcos. I had a doctor, and he actually at one point said, these muscle relaxants are great, but they work even better with a couple of beers. So I was like, I am fairly certain you're not supposed to say that.
Yeah, I have found my new doctor now. That's great. Yeah, it is good that you're feeling better because James, I can't tell you the last time Todd's been sick enough to not come to work. And I think you were
been a while.
You were worried, James. Monday, you're like, no, he's so sick he didn't come to work. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
I don't want to put the pressure on you, but if anything did happen to Todd, you're in charge, James. So
I'm going to step away for 1 second. Y'all continue, okay? We got somebody that just walked in the office.
Yeah, absolutely. We can handle this without Todd. This is a great thing for me to segue to our Patreon Trub Club small talk part of the show, where if you're brewing with us for the month of March, let me put it up here on the screen. Boom! You're going to get sent this delicious brown porter, shipping out also with Imperial Darkness liquid yeast. We're very excited about the brown porter that's going out, and that's for all recipe receiving members. And if you're, where's the image? Oh, it's right. Boom! Right there. Any level of our Trub Club through patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, and you're going to get entered to win a $50 gift card to keggconnection.com, courtesy of our friend Simon, who donated his $25 gift card, and of course, obviously, Mr. Todd Burns, who is I
don't see an image.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm going to figure out a way to record us through OBS and have you see what I see. We did it one time on that brew day, but it was weird because it was doubling all the images for you. So it was a pain in the butt. And I don't like to work harder than I absolutely have to. So all that information on that, I won't drag it out. Just go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour or homebrewhappyhour.com/club to see all the ways you can support the show and our efforts at Homebrew Happy Hour. We greatly appreciate all of you, whether you're a premium member or not, just for tuning in. To take our numbers from double digits to aggressively low triple digits warms my little heart. So thank you so much, everyone involved.
You joke about that a lot, but we actually are getting up there in listeners. It's pretty impressive.
It really is. We're in the 5 digits. We are.
Yep.
We're in the healthy 5 digits.
Wow.
Yeah, not anything Joe Rogan, but also not anything like some of the podcasts I've ever produced over the last decade. So, we're right there, guys. It kind of like my lifestyle, aggressively mediocre, just aggressively mediocre. We're doing good.
You've done a good job.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'd like to take all the credit, but it honestly is our community that keeps the show going. Because if y'all knew, I think we're all very transparent on this show for our audience, but Todd is cutthroat in regards to, is that make sense to do it? No, we're done. So if the podcast didn't make sense, I promise you guys, he would not be wasting his time or his money, because I'm not cheap. So we do appreciate the community for allowing me to keep doing the show and producing it. It's been,
I have some feedback though.
Okay.
I have to tell you something. I watched on the YouTube. I watched your video yesterday of your weekly
Booze News Weekly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't ever realize this, but it's just you on the screen.
Yeah.
It really bothers me for some reason when the microphone covers up your mouth.
Does it?
Yeah, like it's better when it's down a little bit, because it's just kind of weird because you're talking like this,
So don't do what I'm doing right now. Don't do this.
Yeah, it needs to go down just a little. Man, see, you look good now.
I do look good. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, that smile. See, we don't get to see the smile when it's too far up.
Oh, thanks. Hold on. Let me turn up the mic so I can hear it better. Okay, fine. I need to do the show like this. I need to do Booze News Weekly like this now. I think I always did it this way because in my ears it sounds better when I'm closer to the mic. But you're saying like right here, like right there.
Yeah, it sounds fine. It just looks weird because it's totally covering your mouth
like this. Hello, folks. Yep.
James, you sound great. I don't understand that. That was great. Todd, you look better. Like, maybe do the show like that.
Or do the whole show like this, and then today on the news, this is what happened.
Y'all's feedback is constructive. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
It's with love.
It's with,
That's what it is.
I know it definitely is. All right. So before we get into the questions, we have some listener feedback. I'll do the cue the thing, but also, guys, it's not just listener feedback. He also has a question. So it's kind of a bonus question for this week's episode. So with that, it's time for listener feedback. Listener feedback comes from our buddy Ron, who had submitted a question about mint Tums a few weeks ago. Don't know if y'all remember, but here is
I remember that.
Ron.
Hey, Josh, it's Ron again from New Jersey. I had a question a few weeks back about a mint chocolate chip stout that had an acidic taste. To answer James's question about the recipe, it's an unremarkable stout recipe, and the mint chocolate chip flavor comes from 3 milliliters of Loran branded mint chocolate chip food flavoring added to the keg, of which I really can't taste it at all in the finished beer. Anyway, when I sent in my first question, I thought adding mint Tums to the beer would help. Boy, was I wrong. I tried several examples with whole Tums, broken Tums, and powdered Tums. The non-powdered whole and partial Tums did not dissolve at all. They just kind of scuzzed over. And the powdered versions caused volcanoes of foam, and they did change the flavor, but it certainly wasn't for the better. Overall, it didn't work, and I'm not going to try and dose the keg with Tums. It's not a good idea.
Good.
So I started looking for other answers and read about yeast bite associated with yeast and Trub, or Trub, depending on how Josh wants to say it, carried over from the fermenter into the keg. As I worked my way through the keg, like I have today, the acidic taste seems to be fading. Do you think I was experiencing yeast bite? What does yeast bite mean, and how do you deal with it? Regardless, Josh does an excellent job keeping the show moving. I look forward to more of your shows. Cheers.
Ron, I do keep the show moving. James, I'm throwing it to you because I've never heard of yeast bite.
I haven't either. Everybody's going to say he's a fraud. He's a fraud.
They don't know what they're doing.
I've actually heard of it, believe it or not.
Oh, then
wow.
Then you get to take that part.
I'm lying, but I Googled it, and we've all heard of it before. We just didn't know it was called yeast bite.
What is it?
It's what we've always called a young beer. That beer is a little young.
Oh, green beer.
Green. I mean, young or green. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely could be. If it goes over time, fades away, then yeah, that's just conditioning.
So then, I mean, like we tell a lot of people, time is your friend in regards to like mellowing out something.
Yeah.
So interesting. So I guess in this case, it's a bad thing if you were trying to have a lot of mint forward and then it's going away. But he was saying though the acidic part was mellowing out.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think I don't remember our answers because I don't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. But I think we had said let it mellow out. I mean, giving it time, letting it sit, and letting the keg kind of just mellow out because we've had experience now with the acidic off flavor or taste, but with any kind of given thing, sometimes time is the best friend for that to go away.
Yeah, I think I know what he means, though, that acidic, that I don't know if I would call it exactly acidity. There's that taste and it does go away. I did not have any idea it was called, that it had a term like that. Hop bite. Yeast
bite. No,
yeast bite. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hop bite is a real thing.
Yes.
I meant yeast bite.
Maybe maybe we get Casey on the show again, our friend Casey from Imperial, and she can maybe discuss some techniques, or I could get a written in thing to see like what might cause it, like if it was a attenuation thing or like, you know, if you
we don't really need it on the show. They just need to let it sit a little longer.
Yeah, I'm just saying, people. I'm trying to invite her back on the show. How dare you?
Yeah, we'd love to have her back on the show.
No, you heard it here, Casey. Todd does not need you on the show. You heard it here. How rude. But anyways, that was listener feedback for this week. We've got 4 questions for y'all. Coming up is our first question. It's a voicemail from our buddy Ty from Oklahoma.
Hey guys, this is Ty from Oklahoma City. I have a question for you regarding what you would leave in a beer line after you clean it if you're not going to use it for a while. Some background here. I'm going to build a smaller Keezer to take to the lake. And as part of kind of cleaning up before we leave, I figure I would clean out those beer lines so that I'm not leaving beer in the lines and for, maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before we come back. And then, and the taps getting sticky and stuff. So I was wanting to clean all that out, and I know I can't leave star sand in like those BevFlex lines, cause they'll get all white and milky and stuff. I didn't know what I could leave in the lines, if beer line cleaner will work or what you think. And just FYI, I plan on using those, the new EVA barrier lines on this one just to try those out before I put them on my full-size kegerator. So anyways, I would appreciate your opinion on that. Josh, I tried to think of something nice to say, but, if you can't say anything nice, I figured this was better. So thanks, guys. Keep up the good work. See ya.
I can't believe I took Ty's question. I thought that was one. I thought I deleted that one. Normally, I only take the ones that suck up. Thanks, Ty. No, I think he was surprised. I texted him, "Hey, we're taking your question this week," and he was like, "Really? Seriously?" He thought, no, it isn't.
Well, he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything bad though.
No, good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Todd, this is timely because we just produced a new video that is already attached to the product on Amazon, at least for the beer line cleaning kit. Extremely popular product, mainly with people who aren't home brewers at all, but just people who have kegerators serving draft beer at home. But you made it a point in that video to show your technique of removing, in this case on the coupler for a Sainty keg, the ball lifter, to trap beer line cleaning in the line for an hour. And then you rinse it with clean water. When you're done cleaning, you're going to be gone for a while, you just let it air dry, leave it be, or do you try to consciously keep something in those lines?
No, I would. My preference would be to keep them completely dry. So, clean the line, or if he hadn't really used it much, just run some clean water through the line at the very least, and then drain that clean water out, and then leave them. I would leave them dry. I would take if you've got swivel nuts on your disconnects, it's super easy. You just unscrew the swivel nut and let it drain out the other side. You can open, if you've got it on a tap, you can open the tap and take the disconnect off, and then it'll drain out. And I would just leave them open. Now, if it was just going to be a few days, I wouldn't worry at all about leaving water in there. That would be my second preference, would be water. I wouldn't leave cleaner, and I wouldn't leave sanitizer in there. Yeah, the sanitizer one we know. Will it ruin the line, or is it just discolor it? I don't know if that's not the same thing. Yeah, I don't. I mean, what he's talking about with those bevlets, like that cloudiness. Like I've read a bunch about that happening. Where I don't know if that's literally ruining the integrity of the tubing as much as it just makes it look gross.
Just stains it, because I did it with our Brautag system. We've got that silicone hose, and I ran sanitizer through it, and it turned the hose white. I don't know if you noticed that, Todd, but that one hose is pretty white. I mean, it's acid. So, if it's a brewing system, I don't know how much it would matter, but a dispense system, I don't know. I mean, you're leaving acid in the line. Maybe it's eating part of the interior of the line a little bit. I'm just kind of making that up because I don't know. Because I don't know. But I mean, it is acid and it is changing color, so something's happening. I just wouldn't be comfortable with it.
Yeah. But you also say that, to be fair, about you don't like the staining that the iodophore does either.
Yeah, I don't like all my stuff yellow.
Yeah. Which we know, though, that the iodophore is not lessening the integrity of the equipment. It's just staining it. So, which doesn't bother me. Me and my pop still prefer iodophore, but yeah, that also stains everything. Here's something else, maybe personally related, maybe not, depends on how you react to this, Todd. What would you say to the people who only pour from their lines once or twice a week, like once on average a week, like maybe a Sunday afternoon when they come over for a family get together, and then they leave those lines full of beer the whole week? Am I ruining those, or pardon me, is this person messing up those lines and or faucet equipment?
No, I mean, I think, I'm assuming when you say that they're in a Keyser or kegerator, because quite frankly, I made this mistake yesterday. That somebody texted me asking me this question yesterday, and I was like, no, it'll be fine if you're going to use it in a week or so. And then he was like, oh, did I mention this is a portable system? Well, yeah. If it's a portable system, you don't want to leave beer in the line and it's 80, 90 degrees stuff's going to start growing in there. So
Yeah.
The difference is if it's in a refrigeration system and you leave beer in the line for a week, it's not going to hurt anything.
Okay.
I mean, your faucets may stick. When you try to open your faucet,
right.
It's likely going to stick. You can run some hot water over it. You can also, take the faucet off and rinse it out in some hot water, open and close it a few times to get it going again. But that's really the only issue that I see is that.
Yeah. We've noticed the faucet sticking. I mean, this person in this hypothetical has noticed the faucet sticking sometimes.
Okay.
But that's an easy enough thing to fix. But I always did wonder because spoiler if you didn't catch on, guys, it's me that we're talking about. And my dad throughout the week is not a big drinker. And so he usually waits for me. He'll have like a pour from one of the taps throughout the week. And then on Sunday, we go through all 4 of our taps, but, enjoying a beer from each one. But
when you're there,
when I'm there and I allow it,
yeah.
and I allow it. Yeah. Now I've been telling him now, here's how backwards I am. If you're a longtime listener, you'll know I used to complain, Dad, quit giving our beer away. Now we have beer backup because he doesn't give beer away anymore. And I'm like, Dad, give our beer away so we can make room for the new stuff. What are you doing? Like my poor dad, I'm undiagnosed bipolar with our beer apparently. But, yeah, we don't pour but a few times a week where like Todd's lines are getting poured because you're always hosting.
Oh, yeah.
Not to make you sound like an alcoholic.
No. You're right. I do want to tell a really quick story though, James. I think you'll appreciate this. Cool. My nephew who's like 16 came with his 2 friends last weekend.
Oh no.
Right. And I was like, crap. They're going to get into this beer because I have 9 beers on tap.
Yep.
I have all CM Becker faucets. I went through and pulled all the handles off of them, just pulled the levers out of them, left them pressurized, all 9 of them, and I put them in a box and put the box in my safe. So I that's one thing I love about those is that you've got built-in faucet
security.
locks.
Yeah, built-in.
You just if you take the lever off, it's still fine. You can even pour water down there and clean it out, but you don't have to worry about somebody getting into the beer. It's kind of nice.
I was actually hoping for the opposite story where you're like, I forgot to do that, and now I've only got 2 kegs of beer left. Because I bet you, because Are
you coming next week?
Oh yeah, and while you're gone.
What?
Oh wait, no. You think I can't figure it out? You think I don't know where CM Becker hides the levers, the replacement ones? I can't go to the office and bring them.
He's gonna get there, and the first night he's gonna be like crap, and then you'll know, James, because he'll be in there looking for levers off of faucets.
I will. You'll be like, Josh, can I help you? No, I've got this. I got this. Don't worry about me, James.
You know what you do? You just open the lid with a flathead screwdriver, take the hose and kink it, undo the clamp, hold the hose just like you would a yard hose, get your beer, and then you've got built-in flow control. And there's your
built-in flow control. James, we're going to need a video for that. Built-in flow control. Party, or just right to mouth. I don't even need the glass.
I'll pull those levers out of the safe and leave them there for you to put on when you get there.
I could do that. I could bring an Allen wrench. Won't that work as well? Didn't an Allen wrench didn't work? Oh, it doesn't work the same? Oh God. I would have messed up your faucets bad, being like
No, you gotta have the levers because the way they go back and forth. Yeah.
I'll find
great way to lock people out of your beer if
it's CM Becker flow control faucets.
Yeah. Well, they don't have to even be some of these, they don't even have to be flow control. They just have to be forward seal, right, James?
That's correct, because the forward sealing faucets, the beer pressure kind of keeps them in place, keeps the shaft and seat in place.
Now, I will say this, after I just told that story, people listening, do not do that with your normal faucet, because when you take it out, beer is going to shoot straight up into the air like a fountain.
Everywhere. It will be everywhere, and that would be funny. But back to Ty's question to wrap it up, leaving it dry is the way to go is in best case scenario. And if there's some beer in it and it's just a week or two, you don't think that's going to be any issue.
If it's refrigerated.
Thank you, the clarifier. If it's refrigerated, yes. Perfect. So, Ty, thank you so much for submitting that question. A great time to remind y'all, if and when we take your question on a future episode, we give you a $25 gift card to keggconnection.com when it's a voicemail, because remember, Todd wants to hear your voices. And so if it's a text or an email at homebrewhappyhour.com, you can get a $15 gift card to Keg Connection. So moving on to question number 2 was a text message from our buddy Jason using our hotline 325-305-6107. Jason wrote, I'm making my first batch ever in April. My friend is bringing the ingredients and teaching me how to brew full grains. He thinks I should get kegs from the start, not bottles, and I should ask you gentlemen what you think. Isaac, and I bleeped out his last name, Isaac H says hello. Yes, I'm very familiar with Isaac. He's a longtime member of our Trub Club. Thank you, Isaac, for getting a $25 gift card out of your friend to submit the question. I think this is going to be pardon me, $15 gift card. Way to correct me. Oh, you're right. You know what, Jason, if your friend Isaac was a better friend, he would have told you to leave a voicemail and gotten you $10 more gift card. So you're right. Gosh, Isaac, not a very good friend. This might be the shortest and sweetest answer ever, but I'll throw it to you, Todd. Do you think a brand new person to brewing should start kegging from the beginning, or do you think there's some value to bottling and then kegging?
Well, I mean, I had to bottle it first. I think everybody should have to suffer through it. Yeah, absolutely.
I disagree. 100%.
I think of all the mystifying things a new person might be overwhelmed by, kegging is the least of them in regards to like how some people say, oh, you start extract instead of all grain. Yeah, that kind of makes sense to me. You figure out the process, this or that. You don't need to figure out bottling, in my opinion, because even if you got bit by the brew bug and you're gonna be a pro brewer one day, they don't bottle the same way home brewers do. The way home brewers bottle is it's awful in regards to just the cleaning of each bottle and the sanitizing and peeling labels if you have to, and scrubbing and priming sugar calculations, and it's just terrible. We're kegging and forced carbing. That's the way to go, in my opinion, from day one. Y'all are.
Oh yeah, I agree. We had to bottle a while back, Josh, because we did that video.
Yeah.
And one of the things to me that was really funny is that I had a what's called a bottling tree, and you basically, when you dried your bottles, you put them on this thing, and I had it sitting around for like 12 years, and then one day I was like, why do I keep this stupid thing around? I threw it away, and then like a couple months later, we had to do that video.
Yeah, like, I remember you telling me that.
Crap! I just threw that thing away. It's been around for 12 years.
Yeah, you were like, I had a bottling tree. What happened to it? I threw it out because I had it for. I threw it.
Once I started kegging, I didn't bottle again for probably 12 plus years.
Yeah.
Until I had to make a video.
Until I absolutely had to. Yeah. There are people who romanticize the bottling process. What I say is keg and get either a counterpressure bottle filler or something like the Blickman beer gun, which is one of my.
That's a great product.
It's such a great product. It was so good. I tried stealing Todd's and he noticed, so I bought my own. And or actually, I think Todd, you bought it for us actually for my dad. Thank you. I think I took the credit though. I'm going to edit that out because my pop listens and I want him still thinking I bought it. But that's when we're going to gift beer, that's our go-to tool from the keg. Bottle with it, use a clamper, crimp tool, and then we can hand out bottles that way. I've never once since brewing with you guys or being in the industry thought this batch of beer, I'm going to bottle all of it. And because what is 5 gallons roughly? Is it 20 bottles or is it roughly how many bottles do you get?
Isn't it 50
or 40?
There's 53 beers in a 5-gallon batch.
53.
But
okay.
Nobody typically people don't get exactly a 5-gallon batch, and so. But I mean, if you had 5 gallons of beer without any Trub on the bottom or anything, and it was a perfect 5 gallons, it's 5 gallons is 53 beers.
Yeah, that sounds miserable. And it just does. And I've been accused we've been accused of being biased when these kinds of questions. I kind of laughed when Isaac told his buddy Jason to text it in, mainly because I think Isaac knew what we were going to say. But we're not biased just because we sell kegs. We sell kegs because that's the way to go. Like if
we sell bottles too. We have bottles in stock.
We have bottles.
We have bottle cappers. We have caps. We have all that crap. Y'all can take it.
Yep.
Yeah, I should do a Trub Club flash sale for bottlers, and then on a future episode, I'll name names and we'll shame them. Ugh, look, Jason from Indiana bought bottles. Ugh. No.
Yeah, but the problem with shipping bottles is you're going to get some that are cracked or broken.
Good. It's possible. We now not with. We package them real well and whatever. And it reminded me too that when people are shipping beer, nothing's more heartbreaking than receiving beer from a friend and the bottle, there's just beer all over a cardboard box and it's soaking wet. We've had that happen to us before, which while I was bringing this up, we're receiving alt beer on Friday, by the way, guys. I think he addressed it. I think he addressed it to my name. It's Brian, who won Kolsch Cup last year. He did an alt, never had an alt in his life, and wants our opinion. And it's supposed to arrive Friday. Todd, you're out of town, so we'll try.
I gotta get Velver to watch for that.
we'll try to
Too bad.
Yeah, James and I will try to save you some, man, but we can't make any. I mean, Brian wants our feedback like this.
Is it his own recipe or is he using our true to style?
No, good question. I'll ask him. I believe it was his recipe, kind of like his Kolsch. I think he found one and then found what like old world traditions were for all and tried to make it.
Cool.
Yeah. So Brian's a phenomenal brewer. If y'all don't remember our Kolsch Cup last year, which I'm not saying we're not having Kolsch Cup this year. We just have been so swamped with stuff. This time last year was Kolsch Cup. We're going to, if we do a competition this year, it's going to have to be pushed back just because of everything going on. It's crazy busy.
Well, what would that be?
Well,
would it be another Kolsch Cup, or would
that's what I want to do? I want to do annual Kolsch Cups is what I'd like to do. But we did talk about if and when we do it, lowering the amount of entries we take from 50 to 20 or 25, and that would give us the ability to more reasonable or to do it quicker in a quicker time frame for the judging instead of 4 days. I think we did last year. We did 3.
Was it 4 days, or I thought it was 2?
No,
it was more than 2.
Days.
It was definitely more than 2. It was 3 then. If it wasn't 4, it was 3. Todd, I bet you $5 was more than 2.
I don't remember it being more than 2 days.
You said,
I don't remember it at all.
Handshake that $5 bet that it was more than 2 days.
I think what we did was we had we did half on one day, half on the next day, and then did the final judging maybe the third day. Is that what it was?
That was on the Saturday. So we did like a Thursday,
we definitely
Friday, and then finished on a Saturday.
You're right. It wasn't 4 days.
Okay.
It was 3 days. I almost got a $5 bet out of him. Darn it! Almost. I was that close.
Out of who? Me?
Yeah. I offered you. I'm gonna insert the rewind when I said you want a $5 bet, and you muttered, "Yeah." I'm gonna rewind right now.
No. It's I knew it wasn't 4 days. I wouldn't have bet you 4 days. It wasn't 4 days. You would have lost.
I said 3. No, I said 3. We'll rewind it. Trust me. Anyway, Jason, thank you so much for wrapping up his question. Yes, keg from the beginning. Keg. Like kegging is one of the things you'll thank us for. He is jumping right into all grain. That's another one of those things where I think a lot of people make it more complicated than it has to be. All grain brewing is pretty straightforward. Start with recipe kits if you are real worried about not understanding it, because most recipes, like the ones we used to send out or the ones we do send out with every Trub Club recipe every month, they have instructions on there to help kind of hold your hand through the process. But all you really need to know is your mash time and temp and your hop schedule and how long your boil needs to be. Most of the time, those are all pretty standard though. So, but yeah, kegging is something from day one we recommend. So Jason, thank you for submitting that question. Moving on to question number 3 is another voicemail from our buddy Tim from Chicago.
Hey guys, my name's Tim from Chicago. I bought a used keg, and every time I put the quick disconnect onto it, it gets stuck. Is there a solution to this? Can you change out the post on there, or is there a way to make it where it goes on easier? Thanks.
We've gotten questions like this before where they accidentally put it on the wrong post and we're like, yeah, that's a pain. Here's what you do. But I have heard, Todd, of some people, brand new disconnect, used keg, on the correct post and it's just sticking and giving them a hassle, would you recommend swapping out the post entirely, or is there a different way?
Well, I mean, I am very biased on this, but I think it's the truth. Make sure you're using C and Becker disconnects, because a lot of the cheaper disconnects do stick.
Yep.
If I had to guess, I would say what's going on here, though, is that he either has some cheap disconnect that's not working correctly, or they put the wrong post on the wrong place. So in other words, he has a liquid post on his gas side or a gas post on his liquid side. Well, you know, we've gotten kegs before that had 2 liquid posts on them or 2 gas posts on them.
Yep.
So the way that you can tell on that is that on any post on any keg, you're going to have, and I know not everybody's watching the video.
This will give them a reason to watch the video
version of this, but you can see, if I show you on the video, how there's cuts in the post. Can y'all see that? It maybe not be focused enough. But anyway, at the base of the post where the wrench goes, there will always be some sort of a cut done on the gas side, and it'll be smooth on the liquid side. So I would look for that and make sure that the gas side has a cut on the post and the liquid side is it does not. And then also there's a length difference between where the O-ring is and where you have your first part that goes out and gets thicker. And but you know, you don't really know what the link is, so that the cut on the post is a lot easier way to tell.
That was pretty thorough. James, do you have anything to add? Because I don't.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's pretty much covered it all. It is possible on some of the, if it's a newer keg, especially if it's a Chinese keg, we've seen variances in tolerances on the post itself, you know, and sometimes they don't. Some of the manufacturers, when they're cutting those, they don't do what we would call an offset, where they correct for tool wear. So the part's actually bigger than it should be. That's very rare, but it can happen.
You know, and I'm glad that, Todd, you brought it up about might be the wrong post on the keg too, because that's something we have received. You've bought lots of kegs, and by lots I mean like the actual gross amount, and receive them, and our guy that works on them, you know, I think we've accidentally shipped one out before where it's like, oh, son of a gun, it you know, because it can slip by you, but it's not the most uncommon thing. And do you think that's because of some person working on them? Because certainly, obviously, they didn't come, right? I mean, over the 30-year-old kegs, right?
Well, I mean, a lot of the kegs that are on the market, I mean, they've been making these kegs for over 60 years.
60, yeah.
So you know, you could have a 55-year-old keg that somebody's taken apart and cleaned and worked on, you know, 50 times, and at some point somebody put the wrong post in the wrong place.
Yeah, and James obviously agrees. If it's not CM Becker, don't have high expectations out of that disconnect. Because you get calls all the time, right, about, oh, this disconnect's leaking. And I don't mean a CM Becker. I mean, like, if you're helping out with customer service on the retail side, and you're like, oh, well, does it have the CMB stamp on it? Like, no. Like, that might be the first problem, is, you know, the knockoffs that have been flooding the market over the years, where it's like they just stole the mold and then made it real quick. And then, you know, without any kind of QA at all, because that call's not unfamiliar to us, where it's like, oh, it's leaking, or it's getting stuck, like Todd said, where, you know, it sounds sales pitchy, where you're like, oh yeah, the solution is spend the extra $2 or whatever it is and get the CMB. And then also though too, because y'all stand behind it, so if they did have an issue with it, you get them taken care of. But those are the two that solutions that I see the most, are the two troubleshooting things. Is it's either going to be wrong post on, like if you got your black liquid disconnect going on the liquid outside, but it's still sticking a little. It's either because of the construction quality of that disconnect, or it's because that used keg happens to have the wrong post on that side. But like Todd said, the cutout is the easiest way. And what is the cutout per? Is it the 2 notches for liquid and 1 for gas? I didn't hear you say that because I was.
No, it's there's notches on the gas, and there's no notches. It's smooth on the liquid.
Thank you. Notches on the gas.
Really?
No notches.
You don't know that after 13 years?
It's my shtick to play dumb on the show. That's what I'm going with. Remember Gilligan? Anyways, Tim from Chicago, thank you so much for submitting your question. A final reminder, guys, if and when we take your voicemail on a future episode, you get a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. You can do that at 325-305-6107. Our last question of the show was an email from our buddy Robert, who used that submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Robert wrote, I have a couple of questions about hop bags. Do you use them? And if so, do you, I think he wrote refuse them. I think he meant reuse them. Do you reuse them? And how long do you feel comfortable reusing them? As an extract brewer, I've been throwing hops into my kettle during the boil. I would like to minimize the gunk it causes at the bottom because I think it would make transferring into my carboy less messy. However, I don't want to be a cheap Josh and use the same bag over and over if it might cause problems. I hope you all have some helpful advice. Cheers. I don't like my name being used like a cheap skate, a cheap Josh. I might edit that out. But anyways, Robert, it's a good question. I don't use hot bags. I've never worried about the transfer part. I always, even my dad and I, we use auto siphon. We just eyeball it when we're transferring to make sure we're not sitting in the trub and bringing up, we're trying not to bring as any particles if we can avoid that. Sometimes we have used hot bags. I've not ever noticed it being something that I go, yes, I definitely have to have it. Do you guys use hot bags on y'all's brew day?
I don't.
Well, you know what? We should clarify. Y'all have, since brewing on Herms, do a whirlpool, which makes all the difference in the world, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I definitely use hot bags, but not on brew day. I use hot bags when I dry hop.
Ah, that's a good point. And Robert's talking about for brew day. So for someone who has a single vessel brew setup like this for their boil and they're throwing hops in, do you think it's worth it? Because they're not expensive, right?
Definitely. If you don't have the ability to whirlpool to collect all that particulates in the center, definitely use a hot bag. They're cheap insurance against clogging up the pickup.
Yeah.
And as far as reusing them, when I used to brew and used hot bags every time I brewed, I reused them over and over again. But, these were actually, I may be misspeaking a little bit. It wasn't just a hot bag. It was, you have the grain bag, and of course I reuse those. And then if I used a hot bag, I never reused a hot bag.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
They're like $1, aren't they?
Less than that, I think. I think the hot bags are right at 70 cents. So rounding up, yeah, they're $1.
By the way, while y'all were talking, I looked it up on on More Beer's website, and a CM Becker disconnect versus one of their off-brand disconnects. The difference in price is $1.30.
Best $1.30 you could spend from the beginning. I like that you had the. Yeah, you can't go to kegconnection.com because we don't carry that cheap imitation stuff. Only this. We don't have a comparison chart because we only carry CM Becker. Back to Robert's question. Yeah, Todd, I was going to ask, when reusing a hot bag doesn't, I know you can empty it and wash it out and all that.
You could reuse it, no problem. I would probably be a lot more likely to reuse it if I was brewing with it than I would if I was dry hopping with it. Because when you're brewing with it, it's hot. You pull it out, you could turn it upside down, shake it in a trash can, and rinse it off. Point. Yeah. So maybe I would be, but I'm probably, me, I'm not going to reuse it. If it's less than $1, I'm not going to take the time to reuse it.
And I'm going to dig more into the question unnecessarily just because it popped in my head. Does it matter? Like, would you say pulling it out of the boil and getting it out is enough to get the residual hop particulate from it to where my next brew, if I reuse it and it's a whole different hop, it's not going to affect it? Did that make sense, that question? I
think you'd have to rinse it. But, usually, when you're brewing, you don't do that. I was going to say when you're dry hopping, I always boil the bag a little first because I want to make sure there's no buggies in there, and I don't want to put sanitizer in there and then drop my hops in there. So I wouldn't have to worry about that so much because you could if you put it in some boiling water, you'd probably get most residue out.
That's
I
good point.
just wouldn't reuse it. I would just throw it
They're
away.
cheap.
I mean,
Everything. I like that you humored my hypothetical, and then it just comes back to you. No, nope. I would dump it and I would just get a new one. That's what I'm going to do. Or here's the really expensive option for you, Robert. Get a Herm set, or actually, you don't even need a Herm setup. I'm lying. I mean, the G40 does it. Get away to Whirlpool, and then boom. You know, like that takes care of the centering your hot particles and making transferring pretty hot particle free. You're always going to get some, right? Like you can't avoid it. And then but it is nice going into your fermentation vessel with as little particulates and gunk as you can, since your fermentation is going to cause a lot of particulates and gunk to happen. And so the less, the better in regards to, I guess, the end result of a clear beer, which is what we're always going for.
So we have 5 inch. I looked up 5 inch by 29 muslin grain. This is a grain bag, but
same difference. I actually
think this is the one I use for hops. So that's the reason I went to that one. And they're 79 cents.
I'll say 80 cents. I think I said 70 and you said $1. Split the difference.
That's cheap enough.
It is cheap enough. And order 20 of them and you're covered for the year. Or unless you're Todd Burns, that covers you for a quarter, how frequently you've been brewing. But or like I said, I mean, this is one of those questions where it is, it's as an extract brewer, you get, or whatever hop habits you're getting into at the beginning is what you'll probably stick with. So if you've never used them now and it hasn't been too big an issue, keep doing what you've been doing. But if you do use them, they're so cheap. Is it worth your time to rinse it out, do all that stuff to get it ready for the next one? I don't know. Listener feedback is welcomed on all these questions, but especially this. Do you use hotbags? And if you do you reuse them? Are you pushing pennies so much that you will reuse a hotbag? And how often do you think you're comfortable using it? Because this isn't like a yeast question where, James, I think 5 generations is your record.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and you got to remember too, there is hot bags out there that are made out of plastic fiber that are labeled as reusable versus like the bags that we have, they're actually cloth.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference, but I'm just buy another. I like the cloth better.
Yeah. Your time. I mean, even at 80 cents, well, with what Todd pays me, that's about a half hours of work. So if it takes me less than 30 minutes, then it's worth my time. But if not, I don't know. I'm bad at math. That's why I'm only worth 80 cents. Robert, thank you for...
No, it's because you don't actually work the whole 30 minutes.
That's not nice, but accurate. Thank you so much, Robert, for submitting your question and for calling me cheap. Which is funny that he calls me cheap, but I'm with y'all. Where no, I would buy that. I'm not that cheap. Trust me, I'm not that cheap. Thank you guys so much for your time today. We did do it a day early. I appreciate you, Todd, because you are leaving us to go do a vendor visit. So don't miss us too much while you're down there in Florida. You're going to Disney World, right?
Oh no, that'd be terrible. I'm actually going to spend the weekend in the Florida Keys, though. That'll be nice.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, so you're not going to be anywhere near Disney. You're going to be in a much prettier place.
Yeah,
that's be nice.
Oh, yeah.
You're taking your wife, right?
Oh,
okay. That's awesome. Y'all deserve that. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your time, and I'll catch y'all next week.
Thank you.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. Brew better beer with the new Grainfather G40 all-in-one electric system available now at grainfather.com. Also, get a free pack of Imperial Yeast along with premium recipes from us when you join our Trub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.